Let's talk about Cardano and why 5,653 Cardano will set you financially free. So, looking at Cardano at the moment, 5,653 is going to cost you just shy of $5,200. And this by no means is a small amount of money, but it's something which I believe is doable for quite a lot of people out there. And ADA is a coin which I've been in for a long time. Back in 2021, I've told this story a few times on this channel. My friend told me to buy it. He sent me a text. He was saying, "Oh, Cardano is the co-founder of Ethereum. They're doing all these projects in Africa. They have this academic approach," and he sold me. And to be fair to him, he was absolutely right. Ended up making some cash on paper, but not actually understanding how business cycles work and understanding that crypto cycles have to eventually come to an end, and ended up holding the bag all the way down, which was pretty devastating to see all your money essentially dwindle away. But what I did do during this time, guys, is that I did some research to understand how cycles work and how to actually make profit. And what I have been doing is I averaged in over the course of pretty much the entire bear market and brought down my cost basis. And now we're starting to see it rise. And that's really, really good to see. And I know there's a lot of Cardano holders who are out there who have done the exact same thing. So when it comes to this, Cardano is currently sitting at 32 billion market cap, which is relatively big when compared to a lot of cryptos, but to me it still indicates there's a lot of room for it to grow, which is really, really positive. Quick disclaimer, guys, please read this with care. This video is not financial advice. Crypto is volatile and highly risky. No results are guaranteed. This content is for experienced users only, and it's a full legal disclaimer in the description below. And we also need to understand, what has Cardano been doing during the bear market? Like, how can it actually perform well? And I want to kind of give you a fraction of some of the things that have been going on with Cardano in the last few years in the bear market. And this one, the first point is that back when Cardano reached the $3 mark, there was far fewer crypto participants worldwide, and that was around 300 million compared to the 562 million that we see today, which indicates that there's a lot more crypto adoption that there was back in the previous peak. So it shows that there's growing interest, and as well there's so many more eyeballs on crypto, which is really good for us holders. And at that stage back then, guys, ADA was valued mostly on speculation. They had a roadmap and they hadn't really done much on it. They had a few different stages. They were talking about what they were planning on doing, but they hadn't really actually executed anything. And back then as well, institutional adoption in crypto practically didn't exist. There was no US government, and now we've seen the strategic reserve with ADA, Solana XRP, really, really bullish, as well as ETFs. And recently we've seen a Grayscale ETF, even just in the last day or two. And this is amazing because these are billion-dollar companies, guys, and they would not be trying to offer Cardano as part of their service if they didn't believe that it had a future and ability for them to make money, right? So for me, this is really, really important and very, very bullish. And again, it had the Hydra scaling, the transactions per second, as well as the Bitcoin OS integration, which is really, really interesting to see. I don't believe there's any other cryptos that have this ability. And again, we've seen the likes of the Midnight sidechain. These were just concepts, but these have actually come into fruition. The Midnight is a privacy coin. We've also seen the likes of Cardano partnered with NASA. The Dubai police are actually using Cardano, which shows real world use cases, and Cardano ranking in one of the top intimate brands in the world, higher than any other cryptocurrency, including Bitcoin. So for me, this is showing how strong the community is. And we've also seen in the last day or so, Cardano is one of the strongest communities according to CoinMarketCap. Really, really bullish, guys. This is exactly what we want to see for a coin to be able to do well. And like I mentioned, with ADA sitting at the 31 billion market cap, if it were to reach just half of what Ethereum's was last cycle, that would translate to roughly a 9x from today's price. And I think that on a conservative basis, I think a $5 to $7 Cardano is reasonable and not completely unrealistic or off the cards, essentially. So that said, I'm not holding for a $5 to $7 Cardano mark without taking any profits, because again, you've seen that I've been in it for a while and brought down my cost base average. So I think it would be quite foolish just to wait for a certain number. And I think it's very, very important to scale out in 20% increments as the price goes up, and they're all written down in a spreadsheet. So I do think that ADA can surpass the $5 to $7 mark, but we would need everything to go perfectly, which includes quantitative easing, Bitcoin climbing to 250k, ADA sustains around the 4.5% market dominance in the market, and then this push could potentially happen, but I really wouldn't guarantee it. I don't necessarily think it would happen. So when it comes to this core, guys, with ADA, 5,653, if we were to hold it to a $3, you'd have almost 17K. And I'm not going to go through all the numbers here, guys, but if you did have 5,653 and you held it to around the $10 mark, you'd get $56,000. So I wouldn't recommend holding that, but if you were able to cash up as you go up, you could do exceptionally well. So this doesn't necessarily make you financially free, quote unquote, but I do want to make the point that the first 100,000 is the most important, guys, and becoming financially free does depend on a lot of things like your age, your country, your income, etc., of course, but this will set you in the right direction. And what I mean by this is that if you can save 10% a year, earning 7% annual return, this will take about 7.8 years to hit that first milestone. And once you get there, you have an amazing snowball effect with the fact that it accelerates. So growing from 100K to 200K takes just 5.1 years. And then once you hit 200K to 300K, that only takes 3.8 years. So this definitely puts you in the right direction to become financially free. And another point here, which I think is really, really beautiful and not enough people talk about, is how if you didn't want to then funnel that money to stocks, what you could do and it is, if you understand how the cycles work, you understand that Bitcoin initially gets all the money, then the money flows into Ethereum because all the people taking profits from Bitcoin. Then once people start to see Ethereum go up, they start to take profits, they make their money, then they flow into the large caps, which is the ADAs, the Solanas, all these coins up there. These start to flow, start to accelerate, go up, and then we see altcoin season, and then essentially like a meme coin season after, right? So what you could do essentially to supercharge that is to make that money on ADA, then funnel that money into other coins which haven't gone yet, because in all the previous cycles, we have seen this order take place every single time. So if you do some research and you have some other altcoins that you like, that you believe in, and that haven't actually gone before ADA, you could then flow some of that money into these coins to help you become financially free. So hopefully, guys, this has provided you with some value, and thank you very much for watching.